Hi everyone, this is Noah Sandler from MTGOacademy.com, and today I'm doing a Magic Origins booster draft, an 8-4, so let's get into queue. Okay, some decent options here. Graveblade, Marauder, Jessen Thief, and Ravaging Blaze are all pretty strong, like worthy first picks. I think they're all actually pretty close to each other in value. Yeah, I could easily see taking any of the three. I guess I have a preference for black and red over blue, so I think it's probably going to be Blaze or Marauder. And I think I just like Marauder better. Haven't actually played Ravaging Blaze that much for some reason. The card doesn't get passed too often. That said, I mean, Marauder isn't like a bomb or anything, but it's very, very solid. It just locks down the ground really well, so I think I'm going to go with the Marauder, but I could see any three of those being the correct pick. So there's an Acolyted Inferno and Reeve Soul, also Rock's Maulers. So we'll take the Reeve Soul, and now we've passed a couple of good red cards, so might consider avoiding red at this point. But if it is really open from our right, then I'd still go red. And black-red, Sacrifice, one of the best archetypes in the format, so I wouldn't really mind fighting a little bit for it. But since the rare was taken from the last pack, we actually don't have any information about the people on our right, so we'll see with the next pack. Okay, good news, another Reeve Soul. Also Dwinnen's Elite, Scab Goliath, and Fetid Imp. So, still pick three, not a ton of information, with an uncommon and a rare taken. So they could have taken better cards than Reeve Soul, so it's not really like a signaling preference necessarily yet. And I do like Watercourser. There's Way the Underworld, a Crone Sergeant, Elvish Visionary, Shrouding Mist, Glory Chaser. So I think it's between Watercourser, Way the Underworld, and the Crone Sergeant. And while I do think we might have to fight for red a little bit in the next pack, I think Sergeant is the best card. And if red's open from this direction again, I do like red-black quite a bit. So I think I'll take the Sergeant, but I think Watercourser is also a reasonable pick. Okay, Ramroller, Rogue's Passage, kind of late for a passage. Negate Evolving Wilds, so we'll take the passage. Could be exciting with Graveblade, Marauder in the late game. Also decent with Sergeant. And Turn to Frog, Titan Strength, Majoring Bully, Evolving Wilds. Red cards aren't that exciting. Infernal Scarring, it's 23rd card at best. Turn to Frog is fine. I think I'm just going to take the Evolving Wilds, which I'm going to play no matter what. And Consecrated by Blood is decent. Scrapskin Drake and Fire Fiend Elemental. Yeah, Consecrated could be nice on either of these creatures. I think Fire Fiend Elemental is also pretty good, so I think I'll take Consecrated by Blood. And there is an Act of Treason, also Caves of Koilos and Meteorite. I'll take the Act. And Revenant over Guard or Sidearm. It's at least a good board card. And a Prickle Boar. So I would expect to fight a bit for red in pack 2, but I think black should be pretty open. We passed a good amount of green, a good amount of blue, and a good amount of red. Didn't pass any white. So I guess I'd expect to see a good amount of white in pack 2, but also black, I think. So if we get some sacrifice outlets, and you know, if people aren't black on our left, then we could also get past Act of Treasons, even from a red player, since they won't have the kind of sack outlets that we'll have. So I think we're still set up really well for the rest of the draft. Our pack 3 should be pretty strong. I feel like we were in a pretty good spot in pack 1, and I think pack 2 could also be quite good if black ends up open. And Prickle Borer is solid for 5-drop, but I'm going to take the Bonded Construct. I don't think I'm ever going to be sad that I didn't end up with multiple Prickle Borers. It's still really early, and you can only have so many 5-drops. But there are some matchups where Bonded Construct would be really important for an early blocker. So I think it's better just to take a card that I might end up missing over one that's like likely going to be better. We'll take Way of the Underworld over Cobbled Root and Hated Negate. I'm leaving the Revenant in the board. I mean, currently my creature count's pretty low, and without any self-mill, it's a card for grindier matchups. I think it can be a really nice sideboard card, and if you need to or you have a high creature count, I think it's okay to main. So, have some strong cards here. Sentinel of the Eternal Watch, Starfield of Nyx. Let's check the price on that. Okay, less than a tick, so I don't need to take it. I'm probably going to take Sentinel here. I was also a Topin Freeblade. So one thing, I do expect to see a lot of white this pack. So there is a possibility that I move out of red and go black-white. It's not too likely, but there is a chance of that. It helps this pick a little bit more. But because I have the Evolving Wilds, I'm probably just going to play the Sentinel as a splash anyway. I've got a good amount of removal, so my deck's going to be slow enough to get to a late game where Sentinel can take over. So I think it's worth taking here over Act of Treason. Plus the Act of Treason might actually table. Okay, Dark Petition, Eyeblight Assassin, Chandra's Fury, Necromantic Summons. Pretty weak pack. Petition can be okay if you've got really powerful stuff to get. I wouldn't mind getting the Sentinel, but at the moment, probably wouldn't run it. Like, it is quite a slow card. So I think you need like a few bombs to want to run it. So I'm just going to take Eyeblight Assassin. I am short creatures, so I think this is fine. Eyeblight Massacre, Fetid Imp, Gearcrafter, Suppression Bonds. So Imp is nice, Gearcrafter's nice. We could splash the bonds. I mean, I don't really want to move into white at this point, like to be black-white, but, you know, it is an option. Like, if there's nothing here and there's a bonds and then we see a Topin Freeblade, I'd have the option to move into black-white, but I'm not really going to push it. I think Eyeblight Massacre is probably the best pick here, though Imp and Gearcrafter, it's very matchup dependent, which is going to be best. I mean, I don't have a lot of creatures so far. I'm looking to be pretty controlling, so I think having Massacre's a good idea. That said, some matchups, I mean, you face an elf deck, it's useless. Your opponent just plays a 2-3, doesn't do much. So it is kind of a high variance card compared to something like Imp or Gearcrafter. So I think it's actually kind of a close pick, but I'll take the Massacre. And we'll take an Mtgo Husk here over Fetid Imp. Phalanx, you know, looks like white's open from this side, not super surprising. So with the Act of Treason already, an Mtgo Husk is going to be nice. It'll make future Act of Treason picks better. So Dragon Fodder, Gold Forged Sentinel, and Shambling Ghoul. We'll take the Ghoul. Infectious Bloodlust, doesn't seem like the deck for it. I'm pretty control-ish. I don't think Pile Driver is worth that much, but I'll check. I guess it's okay sideboard against blue decks, just as like a blocker, but that's not very exciting. I think I'll take it anyway. I guess another Prickle Borer might be okay. Alright, the Spoiler's Souls. I think the card is okay. But having multiple other creature cards in your graveyard is sort of difficult. So I don't know how often this card is coming back. I think I'll just take it here anyway. That's more exciting than, I mean, like Vile'd be okay, Calibrut's alright, but I might give the card a chance here. I guess another Revenant. It's hard to imagine running 2 here. I don't think Scarring is a good fit for the deck. If I do face a mill deck, then having multiple Revenants will be nice. We'll take Macabre Waltz. And Necromantic Summons is a nice pickup. We've got a good amount of removal, so we can steal our opponent's creatures. And Guardians of Meletus, decent pick if we end up more controlling. So that pack was okay. I think it could have gone a little bit better. I mean, black was open that pack, but as I expected, I mean, red was completely cut off. But I would expect to see a good pack 3. Red should be open, black should be open. But right now our deck is pretty controlling, and usually the black-red sacrifice decks are better if you're more aggressive. So I'm not sure if we're going to just aim for more aggressive. Like if we get a strong pack 3 and we get some aggressive cards, we could just move into like a completely aggressive deck at that point. But if the pack doesn't go too well, I think I'm going to have to just kind of stay as a control deck. So Exquisite Firecraft, we'll take that. That goes in either an aggressive or controlling version of this deck. Passing Dwynnon and Skysnare Spider, we'll take a Lightning Javelin. So we have a ton of good removal. And I think we'll take an Act of Treason here. Ruined Servitor would be nice since we're kind of short on creatures and 2-drops. Yeah, I feel like this pick is pretty close because we only have the 1 Nantuko Husk right now. And Consecrated by Blood, it can sort of work with Act of Treason, but it takes a little bit of work. I think I'm just going to take the Act and hope. If we can get 2 more sacrifice effects this pack, then I definitely would miss having the Act here. So it's a little risky to take it. So Servitor is a little more consistent, but I think I'll take the Act and just hope we get there. This Fire Fiend Elemental, I do need some more creatures rather than hating a Troll or Anchor to the Ether. Return Center could be decent, Guard Automaton decent. I think I'll take the Caves of Koilos, let us splash the Sentinel and not take up a spell slot. So at this point, it's gonna be hard to end up with more sac effects. So Volcanic Rambler could be fine. Flame Shadow Conjuring does not do much for me. So I'll take the Rambler. Yeah, I might still play 1 Act of Treason, though with just 1 Husk, it's a little bit sketchy. I mean, without any Husks, like, this isn't the kind of deck that you'd play Act of Treason in, so it's sort of a 2-card combo, and that's typically not what you want to be doing in draft. But yeah, it can still randomly win some games where my opponent's low life, I need to finish them off. But typically I'm just going to be 1-for-1ing my opponent and then eventually dropping a fatty or just a couple creatures and pushing through for a win. Rogue's Passage should help with that. So Act of Treason, like I might not be able to get a card's worth of value out of it. So I'm going to cut 1 for now, and I might end up cutting the other. And it would be a shame since we did pass the Ruined Servitor, but yeah, there was a chance that we'd still end up with a couple more sac effects. It didn't happen. I think we'll take Return Centaur. It's a decent blocker, and we could potentially run some synergy with Revenant and Necromantic Summons, so I think we'll take that over a Smash for the board. So yeah, we'll cut the Act at this point. And I think the spoiler... I guess we'll take another Evolving Wilds. The Guardian Automaton could be okay, and Magmatic Insight is also probably okay. This Hate a Water Courser. So that was a disappointing third pack. Yeah, not a good third pack. Wanted some solid creatures. Just saw like a Lightning Javelin as far as red cards. And yeah, nothing great in black either. So, yeah, I think pack 1 went pretty well. But maybe I misinterpreted that black and red seemed a bit open. But yeah, people can also change colors, like something weird could have happened. But that felt a little bit off from what I would have suspected. So I think I want to focus on either aggro or control here and just cut some of the cards that don't fit in. And I feel like since we didn't get a very good pack there, it's going to be hard for us to be really aggressive. So probably just try to make the deck a little slower. So we can play the Guardians. So maybe cut the Despoiler. And now we're at 22 spells. So we could run this. I don't know if I have enough creatures for Revenant. It can be nice in grindy games. A little clunky at 4. Elementals don't look that great. I think the Construct's decent for some early defense. How good is Macabre Waltz? We already have the Necromantic Summons, so maybe I can cut that. Could go with Revenant instead. $14 total creatures. We've got the Centaur to fill the graveyard a little bit. If I could play it as a 2/2 flyer, that might be okay since I'm killing everything else that's important. And then at that point, for the rest of the game, it might get slightly bigger over time. So it could be okay. But typically I'd want 16 or 17 creatures for it to be consistently a 3/3 flyer at that point. I think this is what we're going to do. The Spoiler is also a little hard on the mana since we've got all these Evolving Wilds, Rogue's Passage, and the Splash. Let's sort by color. We can go heavy black. I do have a double red spell, so I don't want to play too few mountains. I'd like to play 7 sources if possible. The Evolving Wilds should help out a decent amount. So I need the plains for the Evolving Wilds, so that's going to give us 4 sources of white, which is great. So we don't need any more. So right now we've got 3 sources of black, 4 with a swamp. So this has us with 10, then 5, 6, 7 of red. So I can probably go to 8 red. So 10 black, 8 red, 4 white. And the Evolving Wilds, it's not exactly equal to 1 mana of every color, because let's say I just have a plains and Evolving Wilds, I can't get black and red with it, so it's maybe 0.8 or 0.9 worth. But we're going to end up with plenty of sources for every color that the flexibility should make it okay anyway. So, yep, 18 lands. The Evolving Wilds will help a little bit with not flooding out too hard late game. And Rogue's Passage gives us something to do with mana. So yeah, pack 1 looks pretty good, and it looked like we were going to be set up for a really nice draft. But yeah, pack 2 and pack 3 were a bit disappointing. So yeah, maybe I misread something there. But we still have a ton of removal. So yeah, and Sentinel is pretty nice. So we'll see what we can make happen with this. Alright, game 1. Our opponent mulligans to 6. We're going to keep. With this deck in the dark, I think I would just draw first because we've got a lot of cheap removal. We're kind of a... I don't know the best way to explain it, but we're like a reactive deck. So if we get our cards on the table first, it's not necessarily going to benefit us. We might just sit there with the Guardians and Lead Us in play. So I think I prefer just being able to mulligan a little easier, or more easily. Like keep more hands, and just hit more land drops. So here, I think I'm going to start with the Swamp. We don't have too many 2-drops that we need to play next turn. And if we actually draw a 2-drop, we can still play it. But if we draw a Mountain, we can Wilds for Plains or a Swamp. I just want to get a little more information before I sack, so we don't end up using Wilds for a Mountain and then drawing a Mountain. So we did draw a Mountain. So we can Wilds for either a Swamp, a Plains, or we could just play another land and wait. And I mean, if we draw Sentinels, we're still gonna need like 2 more lands to actually get white mana. We've got 3 more sources beyond the Wilds left in the deck. So, and Sentinels is 1 card in our deck. So, like the odds of us both drawing Sentinels and not having white mana if we use the Wilds now is really low. Now, for double black, I think we just have that Consecrated card. But I think a little bit more of a concern here is that we just get clunked up with coming to play tap lands. I might have to play a 3-drop, 4-drop, 5-drop, and Wilds could hurt us there. So I guess one other thing is that if we play the Mountain, we could Exquisite Firecraft next turn. I don't think that will be too likely, unless our opponent plays the Jessian, that 1-3, exactly next turn. But we did pass one, so it could happen. So I think I just convinced myself, that's kind of nuts, but I think I just convinced myself into playing the Mountain. Because that would be really bad if they played it. I think we'd have to kind of give them a turn. Maybe we'd go for Assassin. Might be overthinking this. There's definitely a lot of factors going in different directions for that decision. So draw another Mountain. We'll go with Assassin. And I mean, another benefit obviously is that we do get some more time to decide if we want the Swamp or the Plains. If we draw either the double black card, Sentinels, a Swamp, or a Plains, then we'll be able to make a better decision. Okay, Towergeist. Now here's the potential bad news, is if we draw no untapped lands for the next 2 turns, we can't go 4-drop, wait on the Towergeist, and then Pricklebore in turn 5. And that could be pretty punishing. So that's why I was really considering just going for the Wilds. We draw Sentinels there. So now we'd want to get a Plains. So, question is, do we want to wait the Towergeist, or do something else like Wilds for Plains, set up the next turn? I think we might as well just attack with the Assassin. If opponent wants to trade here, then we can just safely go for the Wilds. If they take it, now we have to consider. And one thing we have to consider is that if we don't Wilds here, like we play a Mountain, if we do draw a land the next turn, we play Pricklebore, we'd have to rip another land, like a Plains, to play Sentinel the turn after. So that's going to muck things up quite a bit. So I'm actually just going to go with Evolving Wilds here, and I mean, it might have to take a couple hits from the Towergeist, but I think that that shouldn't be a big problem. Nice thing about this spot is we do have necromantic summons for the sentinel if our opponent kills it. And I don't want to waste the firecraft that could kill something a lot scarier. Okay, so attack for 2. Given the strength of our hand, I don't really want to be going for like a big race spot here. But Prickle Boar is pretty scary for our opponent. Like, we are definitely winning this race, and I like it better than... It's just so much more efficient than just like killing their Tower Geist this turn, or going for Firecraft plus Ghoul. And the Firecraft could also be aimed at our opponent's face to finish them off, so we are in a pretty good spot to race. Okay, Owl. I forgot that we had Eye Blight Massacre, so we actually had multiple cards for black. So in this spot, we probably just got to use Firecraft on the Owl. Play Ghoul, attack for 7. And we have a potential removal spell with Way of the Underworld. So we might be able to get through lethal. I mean, we have 9 damage, your opponent's at 9. But they just hit their planes. Could have 6 drop here. Scab Goliath. It's pretty scary. So hopefully we draw a land here and can play the Sentinels. They skip through their attack step accidentally. That's pretty good for us. So, yeah, let's just play Sentinel. And if we can get to our opponent's beginning combat step, we can tap down their Goliath and have a good shot of winning next turn. But if they have something like Void Mage, if they have some way of removing the Sentinel before combat, then they have a pretty scary attack coming at us and we might lose. But they don't, so let's tap down Goliath. So we go to 10, probably just going to wait of the Underworld, the Geist, and attack for lethal, hopefully. Looks like we're 1 short. Lightning Javelin probably doesn't change too much. I mean, it's nice. So we can attack with everything. It's probably safe. So we could wait the Geist and attack with everything. Opponent puts Guardians on Prickle Board. They go to 1, and then we just need to survive their next attack, and then Lightning Javelin for the win. So that's a pretty good line. Like if they remove our Sentinel pre-combat and then get an extra 2 damage in somewhere, like that could not be great, but seems pretty safe. The other option would be going for an all-in attack and hoping opponent does something like put Tower Geist on the Eye Blight Assassin and Guardians on the Prickle Boar, so they would just take lethal here. And I think that that's pretty likely. And I mean, the worst case scenario is they put Tower Geist on Sentinel. I guess Turn to Frog would be the worst case, which actually could be bad. I mean, they kill our Sentinel, where if we just go for a wait here, like we can't lose to a Turn to Frog. And we did pass a Turn to Frog, so yeah, I guess I'll go for Tower Geist. I don't know. We could definitely win here a decent chunk of the time. If we just attack all in, I think opponent might take 6 and could die to the Javelin. But like Turnifrog could be pretty devastating. So yeah, let's just do this. So opponent goes to 1. Now they have to somehow remove Sentinels pre-combat and get an extra 2 damage in, which would be pretty tough. Like Infernal Scarring plus a bounce spell, but I doubt their deck's playing Infernal Scarring. Okay, just tap down Goliath. Okay, I feel like this attack is probably safe. Can't think of any cards that wreck us here. In other formats there might be some like big life gain or Aether Spouts type card, but I don't think there's one in this format. Okay. So opponent has a lot of flyers. They're blue. I mean, Goblin Pile Driver doesn't really stop Scab Goliath. So, yeah, not super excited about it here. Revenant could be okay. Construct, that seems a little weak here. I mean, it's an okay attacker, but opponent seems to have like early flyers, not many early ground creatures that attack. It's more of a defensive card, unless if you're extremely aggressive, which we're not. So I think it's not great here. So maybe it's a Spoiler of Souls is good. Yeah, it seems pretty good against opponent. They just have like a lot of flyers and didn't seem to have too many good ground creatures. It's a little hard to cast, but I think it's better than Construct. And Night Snare could be okay, a little slow. And Guardians of Meletus, let's cut that. They just have a lot of flyers and doesn't do much against Scab Goliath. I think I'll put the Night Snare in. So I can make them discard their Scab Goliath. This seems like it's going to have more of an impact. Alright. Hand actually seems alright. So opponent goes to 6, like... I mean, I'm definitely going to just grab a swamp, but I mean, double Reeve Soul, and then the second swamp to Spoiler can start bashing. And then, like, I might miss a couple land drops, but like 2 Reeve Souls can buy me a lot of time if I draw 1 land in the next like 4 or 5 turns. And got the land here. And the opponent did mold a 6, so I mean they're less likely to completely overrun me by the time I can draw my lands. So this spot, definitely just getting the swamp. I mean, another swamp isn't that bad. And drawing the plains, pretty good. So get the Nantuko Husk online. Okay, might just want to Reeve Soul that right now, so opponent can't fizzle it. And even though it's more mana efficient, like playing an Nantuko Husk doesn't like trade well damage wise. Okay, Guardians. So now we're gonna go for the Husk. And we could Reeve Soul the Guardians if we wanted to get aggressive. We could also just hold on to it for an actual threat. Okay, I mean, I'd definitely rather kill the Owl. Now, we could use Reeve Soul or Exquisite Firecraft on the Owl. Like, we could use Firecraft on Owl and save Reeve Soul for Guardians. Or we could just Reeve Soul the owl right now and save Firecraft for something else. I think I'm going to use the Firecraft. I mean, either way I could Reeve Soul. Like I could attack with Husk, opponent blocks with Guardians, and then I Firecraft the Guardians. But this is probably a little bit better mana-wise. It's probably going to be easier to Reeve Soul and cast something else. Though, I guess if we draw a Swamp, that's not quite true. Yeah, I should attack there. Free attack. Opponent could have Scab Goliath, though. Looks like they do. That's unfortunate. Before we could have taken one of their guys. But, yeah, Goliath is really good against us. It's going to be a problem. So, we'll try to race. It's possible. Like, if opponent has nothing else, I think we are going to win the race. But it's going to be tough. We can fog for a turn with summons on opponent's Guardian after we kill it. Okay, Assassin, that's fine. If opponent just has Assassin and like misses a land, like just draws a land next turn, I think we could actually be fine. So alright, so we go Reeve Soul on the Guardians. We go Eye Blight Assassin on opponent's Assassin. This lets the Husk get through. And we attack for 7. We could definitely win this game. This just puts us to 8. So we could use Necromantic Summons to fog, grabbing the Guardians. So Evolving Wilds, let's see, the Husk, you can sack 3 creatures to it after the first strike is on the stack, so we can actually deal 13 damage. If opponent takes Husk and Pricklebore here. It's scary though. I mean, opponent could have a trick and that would really hurt. So I don't know if I want to go for that play. I mean, I don't know if we should really be playing around stuff, honestly, but like, what can we play around? Can we play around some kind of trick? Like a bounce spell? It's gonna be hard to beat a bounce spell and like be aggressive enough to actually win this. I think I go for Fire Fiend, attack with everything. If opponent takes it, they're taking lethal. If I do the trick with Pricklebore, if they block something, then they're not presenting lethal back at me. Yeah, I think I gotta go Elemental. I mean, what's the other play? I go Summons on Guardians, like I attack. Opponent probably blocks, I summons Guardians. I mean, if opponent takes this attack, 7, 9, 11, and they have a bounce spell, then that line loses as well. So yeah, I think I just go in here. Alright, opponent takes it, so let's see if we're good. mean, they might have missed the interaction. Alright. Looks like they did. So yeah, if an opponent saw an interaction, they need to block with their assassin. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the benefits of that play. His opponent might just not recognize that I was capable of winning there. And that's what happened, so... Alright, well, we'll see you for round 2. Hi everyone, ready for round 2. Opponent goes to 6, we'll keep this hand. So we can just wilds for a mountain. Okay. So they have a free blade, we do have a lightning javelin. So eventually we can deal with that. But this might be the kind of matchup where we do want to be on the play. Yeah, just so you can get underneath your opponent's renowned creatures. Well, looking great so far. We do have Javelin or Return Centaur for the Free Blade and Weight of the Underworld for the Aven. And opponent did mull, so maybe they slow down a little bit. But so far they're off to a pretty good start. I think we go with Javelin here. Could do Centaur. Alright, we'll keep that on top. So if opponent does run out of gas, we might be good here. We can wait the Aven. Husk can hold off the Free Blade. Opponent is offering a trade here, which does make sense since we are a red-black deck. We don't actually have Act of Treason, but we might. And plus, any creature in the future we can use to pump the Husk and win that trade. So it's a good trade for opponent, but we're definitely not taking it. Okay. That yeah, that's fine. The way the opponent played it. Like, they could have done it pre-combat, since I'm probably just blocking the Free Blade anyway, but I mean, if I didn't block the Free Blade, then they could play Patron. So, I think that plays reasonable. We are going to have a lot of trouble dealing with Patron. I don't think we have much in the deck that kills it. But we have to use Weight here, and yeah, we're going to be on a pretty quick clock. 3-turn clock. We can play Rambler, then we go to 4. We could draw the +2/+2 flying card. Summons. We could return Centaur ourselves or our opponent, and then hope to summon something. I guess because of spell mastery, well, I just don't think we have flyers. I think that's the problem. Or opponent might. So, like if we centaur ourselves, we're more likely to also hit a spell and then spell mastery. Give the creature 2+1/+1 counters, but I think we want to hit a flyer, so I'm going to go with centaur on our opponent. We can also draw the +2/+2 or next turn. Might be good enough to hold it for our opponent for a little while. So, yeah, there's a Recluse and an Aven in the yard. But we're not going to have spell mastery, so that is likely only going to give us a chump. So things aren't looking good. Exquisite Firecraft could do it. Well, let's take the Recluse. And yeah, even if we do top deck the Firecraft, it's, you know, opponent could still draw out of it. I mean, if we do draw Firecraft, the opponent bricks for a couple turns. I mean, the Rambler and the Elemental can finish opponent pretty quickly. But we're dead. Okay, opponent's deck seems like insane. Yeah, probably got to play first in this matchup. And I don't like our sideboard. Bond Construct is good. Yeah, I'm probably just going to keep things the same. But play first so we're not taking too many hits from Token Freeblade. Okay? Yeah, here's exactly why play first is good in this matchup. We get to put Shambling Goblin out and have it untap before a Freeblade hits us. And we draw Construct. Might get Celestial Flared here, but I think that's okay. I mean, if they have Flare, it would be better to play around it, but it's not a huge deal. And if they don't have Flare and they're actually just stuck on white, it would be really bad to not push as much damage through as possible. Okay, now the Pilgrim. Hopefully we draw a mountain here. Okay. So I think the play is attack with Husk, or actually, let's play Construct. You could go Fire Field Elemental, attack with both, but yeah, this is attack with Husk, and then we'll play Sergeant. Do have a pretty good start. We might be able to get the Sergeant in next turn, probably not. Decent chance of at least getting like an okay trade with the Fire Fiend Elemental. And the Husk is going to just keep pushing through for 2 a turn. Okay, Force Mage, that's pretty annoying. Good news is after we take this hit, I mean, you could just throw Construct in the way. It does keep that as a 2 toughness creature, but I'm just going to take the hit. It means that we can get through the Sergeant, assuming we're not getting Enshrouding Misted here. That's nice. So, yeah, let's just send everybody. creature cards in your graveyard. Okay, opponent does have Enshrouding Mist. It was probably going to hurt regardless. So, yep. So put first strike on. No, doesn't really change anything. So we'll sack the Sergeant. Get a little extra damage in. Trade these off, and kind of like Elemental here. Or maybe, well, I think I want to trade off the Elemental if possible for the Knight. I mean, I guess the opponent might play that 4/4 flyer. That would suck. Then I would have wanted to have the Marauder out. But if I can, yeah, try to get opponent to trade here, and then play Marauder. I'm going to have 4 creatures in my graveyard. Okay, Alchemist's Vial. So it's going to be, like, opponent's going to be under a lot of pressure from the Marauder, and it's hard to deal with. I mean, I guess, like, opponent could use Vial here to push through the Knight, but I think they're probably the one who's on the defensive. And if we can get up to 6 mana, we can cast Sentinel, and that should be huge in this matchup. Not many cards can beat that. Pretty unfortunate to draw one other 6-drop in this spot. Like, any other card in our deck is probably better. So, I certainly don't want to trade both my creatures for the Knight, so I think I just send the Elemental in and play Marauder. I could leave Elemental back, but I think I want to put the pressure on. It is going to pump up to a 4/3 after this attack. I believe opponent's just going to take this. They could trade Knight for Elemental, since they're both going to be 4/3s, and it prevents 3 damage to opponent. And it looks like they are doing that, and now the Graveblade Marauder looks really nice. It threatens 5 damage at opponent's face attacking, and opponent just has the Aven. They can sack the Vial to get a free turn, but I mean, this is going to take a really high value target for opponent to to trade with the Marauder. It's going to be pretty painful for the opponent. Like, they're going to have to spend at least like a Suppression Bonds, like a big creature or multiple creatures. Okay, Conclave Naturalists. So, yeah, that Rambler is really a rough draw, because, like, next turn's draw is gonna not be that great. Like, if I can draw something like a Reeve Soul would be good, but I kind of want lands, but unless if I draw, like, specifically 2 lands in a row, it's, like, a little slow. Like, I really want to have something this turn. Oh, what happened? Wait, what does Alchemist Vial do? Creature can attack or block this turn. Whoa, opponent just like... What? Oh, did they say yes to kill the Vial? Weird. I mean, Marauder's a lot of damage. That said, like, I am 1 land away from Sentinel here, so I should probably just hold back, trade Marauder for Naturalist, as awkward as that sounds. Like, this just isn't a great spot to race, considering how much power I have in my hand. My opponent just has 1 card in hand, so it's a good spot to just stall the game and get to play my 6-drops. Like, I'm either going to draw a spell or a land for the next few turns, or my opponent could draw lands, and I mean, unless they have Gaia's Revenge in their hand or Gideon's Phalanx, like, you know, they might just be flooding out at this point, where I'm drawing something relevant every single turn, and once I get the land, I've got 2 fatties, and the Sentinel, which should be really hard for opponent to deal with. I've only seen Suppression Bonds from them. Okay, Hitchclaw Recluse. Doesn't change too much. So we'll take 2 here. Hopefully we draw a land. Firecraft. Probably just hit the Naturalist, and like I did want to slow the game down. Like killing the Aven maybe slows the game down a little bit, but I think just killing the Naturalist and bashing is the best thing to do. This puts us really far ahead in the race. Now I can also attack with both creatures in case if the opponent's just gonna chump this turn. There's some potential negative effects from that. Opponent could maybe get an extra attack. If the opponent does have Gaia's Revenge, that would suck. So I would really want to chump. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's like the value of not attacking with Husk. Opponent might just take this anyway. Okay, they do block, so had I attacked with Husk, I might have got an extra 2 in. But I could also just lose the game to Gaia's Revenge. That I could beat a Gaia's Revenge if I don't attack with Husk. Okay, they have Bonds. Now them having Bonds, yeah, makes them more likely they're just gonna chump there, because they won't have to take that much damage in future turns. So land, Reeve Soul, that's plenty fine. I'm gonna do pre-combat. Shouldn't matter though. Can't think of any pump spell they'd have in this spot that they wouldn't have already played. And they definitely just drew the Bonds last turn. Because they would have used it on the Marauder before that. Again, this Rambler draw, like any other card, would have been a lot better through this game. In this spot, yeah, we can just go for Rambler here. And I think that's lethal next turn. Yep. So, looks like we're going to game 3. Tragic Arrogance would be a little rough, but I think we could still beat that with the Sentinel. That's a nice Revenant. Oh, Phalanx? Yikes. It is a good Revenant. We might actually need it. So definitely they're putting 2 Knights on the Rambler, and they might just put 2 Knights on the Husk. And so we just trade off our board here, and then we can play Revenant. Oh, they're indestructible. No! Well, let's see. I got the Revenant. Wow, that's pretty good. So Revenant's gonna be, let's see, I can sack another creature. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It would be a 7/7. Probably just go for Sentinel first and play it safe. Now do I wanna? Yeah, I wanna attack the Marauder here. Oh wait, I can... Oh gosh, of course, I can sack both creatures. I almost missed that. So I can keep my Husk. So Revenant's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Plus Husk, plus Sentinels. That would represent lethal if opponent just like bash with all their Knights and pass, but I wouldn't even go for the win there. It'd be too risky. Let's go with Sentinel. it's still possible that going for Revenant's better here, because it does end the game a little bit more quickly. Wow, this is the exact... Oh, no, I get to tap it down. Oh, never mind. Oof, just in time. Get to tap down Grasp. Now, this would have been a spot that, had opponent gone for it, like, I might have just won. Like, I would definitely go for it in this spot. Like, if I had played Revenant and they tacked all in, got me to 1, in that sense, they'd probably leave one knight back in that spot. So... I mean, trading Huskoff here is not that bad. It's not great either, but it means I might be able to send the Sentinel next turn, and that's probably worth it. Opponent also might just take this hit, but probably trade. Well, let's play this right. Yeah, I want to leave, I guess, red up. It's red or white, potential instance you could represent. Alright. That was not an easy one. So they have Celestial Flare, Enshrouding Mist, Grasp, Force Mage, Alchemist Vial, Conclave Naturalist, Gideon's Phalanx, Suppression Bonds. So they have a ton of like tricks and ways to push through damage that would like surprising forms of damage, and then they have like multiple token free blades, multiple Stalwart Avens, that 4/4 flyer. I think a Night Snare probably wants to get in. Problem is it's a little slow, but it could hit Phalanx, it could hit that 4/4 flyer. A couple of really tough cards to deal with it might be able to hit. This Eyelight Massacre, is that too slow? I mean, theoretically I could hit like Freeblade and that Knight. I guess I probably want it just because I can hit the Gideon's Phalanx, so if opponent goes for that, this just trades 1 for 1. So I think I need to keep it in, but it is a bit slow being on the draw. Maybe Consecrated by Blood goes out. Opponent does have Suppression Bonds and Celestial Flare. Yeah, alright. I think that will go. And everything else looks good. Alright, this won't be easy. Assume opponent will play first. If we do get like Reeve Soul, Bonded, Construct, like we have some ways to deal with a turn 2 Ascetic. We have Construct here. Or a turn 2 Free Blade. Okay, also have Rogue's Passage. This could be nice with the Rambler in the late game. If we have time, it could be okay with the Akroan Sergeant. Okay, Evolving Wilds. I sort of want to get like a Swamp or a Plains. Whoops. Probably don't need to cast a top deck Exquisite Firecraft next turn. Alright, that's fine. Hope I don't get Naturalists on the Construct. Guess I'll just get the Plains. Alright. probably go for Sergeant first. And the one problem is that, yeah, I might get the Reeve Soul countered by something like Enshrouding Mist. Opponent might have Grasp of the Hieromancer, so there are some risks. The problem is, if I just go for Reeve Soul, like I can't attack with Construct, then next turn I have to play Sergeant, then next turn I go for Passage. It's a lot slower, though. I'm not sure about this. I mean, trading a Reeve Soul for Enshrouding Mist is pretty lame in this spot. And yeah, the Grasp. The Grasp is the one that really punishes me, so might not have been correct. You just take their only creature out and not have to worry about Grasp. But we're not too far behind, but this is bad news. Oh, well, that's just unfair. And here comes the Enshrouding Mist. Just, yeah, my opponent has no other creatures in their draw. And we just got, like, fully wrecked. Nope. I mean, certainly bad luck to draw the second Reeve Soul in this spot. Like, a Fire Fiend Elemental would be awesome. On the other hand, I mean, it's one card in the deck, the Grasp, that really like hurts us there. It's one card in the deck, and something like Enshrouding Mist is like suboptimal, but is not the worst thing in the world. Where like not having the Sergeant in play is just such a big tempo boost if I can have the Sergeant in play and like get it renowned. So not looking good. You need to draw something that can deal with that. Yeah, I mean, opponent like doesn't look like they have other creatures. It's very punishing. Either way, it's like a real small percentage loss if, you know, the situation where they have Grasp is the one that I lose because of this. So not a big mistake if it is one. Yeah, Disciple's annoying because I really want to drop the Rambler here. But I might just have to Reeve Soul the Disciple. Yeah, I mean, I also never drew anything after that turn. Like, I just don't think I'm winning if I go for... I mean, I go for Reeve Soul, I go to 1. So I think I need to go for Rambler and just hope opponent doesn't have anything. I can hopefully chump with the Bonded Construct, and then like Reeve Soul something, draw something. Like, Way of the Underworld could maybe get out of this. Opponent also left up double white. Could have Celestial Flare, but not a card we can play around. Looks like opponent has Celestial Flare. Or Mist. Alright, it's Flare. Yep. Alright, that'll do it. So, if opponent had the Disciple in their hand, like they went for suppression bonds on my Sergeant, like if they had the Disciple in hand, there would be a turn where, like, they would have just saved the Grasp, and I don't know. I guess I probably would just Reeve Soul their Disciple. So yeah, maybe I would have won had I. Well, I guess I wouldn't have won because I'd still have nothing. But I would have been able to deal with my opponent's threats had I made the different play. So yeah, I mean, pretty interesting draft. Had some cool spots in the game. So yeah, hope you appreciated it. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.